Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
No delaying for what you saying, yo. So this with my 9 million with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, like we while in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug, nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. I'm a nigga that'll slap me with the toolie, yo. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. Fuck me, see what you got for me. Put more than hands with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the double.
Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva.
Yo, 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 yo. Sorry about that, guys. Had you guys waiting for a few minutes. Sorry about that. I'm helping the man out in the kitchen. He making some dumplings over there. He's learning his culinary skills. So he's taking the pork that I made yesterday. There was extra pork chops, and he shredded them up. And he decided to make his own dough. And right now, he made them into like little dumplings, and so that's what we're gonna have tonight with I don't know what on the side, but good luck to David. I hope them dumplings come out good. So how's everyone today? I hope everybody's doing good on this wonderful Friday. It's kind of like sucky out here in New York. It's kind of like sunny and raining at the same time. So welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am your wonderful host, Diva Divine. Hello, OCOV family that is in the building. Kelly's a dog head. Hey, baby. Hey, Les Smith. What's up, T-Bam? Hey, Diva Time. Just 504. What's up, lady? True Strong Warrior. What's up, baby girl? How's my microphone, guys? Everything's good. What's up, Jacqueline? What's up, Jacqueline? Charisse, what's up, baby? James, I miss you. Purple, what's up, lady? Hey. Hey, Cherie, how are you? Love is fair. What's up, baby boy? What's up to my brothers in the building? What's up, y'all? What's up? Hazel E, what's up, lady? Hey, Aisha, what's up, mama? Just getting my hellos out the way for everyone. Hello, Karen Johnson. How are you, mama? Hey, Vanetta, what's up, baby? Miss you, mama. Hey, SK, what's up, darling? Let's see. Who else is in the building? Fat boy. My fat boy. What's up, fat boy? Goon. My brothers are in the building. What's up, y'all? All right, all right, all right. And what's up to everybody that's sitting in the bushes? Hello, everyone. So, we are going to go through Lisa Van Allen's testimony. She was on the stand yesterday. So, we are going to get through her testimony. I am going to drop the link, okay, for anyone who would like to come up and help me read. Fat Boy, if you got time, I would love it if you can jump in here. I would love it if you could. Maybe one of my brothers could come up here. I need a man's voice. I need a man's voice. Let's see. I wanted to kind of, before we do all of that, I wanted to kind of go through a couple of little things that have been out here as far as what Lisa Van Allen has said towards certain things. So let's just take a listen. And let me know, guys, if the sound check is good. Okay, give me a thumbs up and let me know that you guys can hear it.
But the stories about the singer's alleged treatment of women have been running for over 20 years. One of the first women to speak out against them was Lisa Van Allen. There she is. Hey Lisa, how's it going?
It's really low. That one's really low.
One of R. Kelly's former girlfriends says she feared for her life after appearing in a sex video with him and an underage girl, taking the stand today in his federal trial.
WJN's Julian Cruz has more from the Dirksen Federal Building.
Good evening. Blistering cross-examination in this hard-fought legal battle. 42-year-old Lisa Van Allen testifying at R. Kelly's child pornography and conspiracy trial here at the Dirksen Federal Building. She says that she was coerced into threesomes with R. Kelly and a 14-year-old girl, videotaped on at least one occasion by R. Kelly himself. According to the witness, she testifies that she felt threatened by Kelly's business manager. You made money off your relationship with R. Kelly, didn't you? Alleges defense lawyer Bo Brindley. Made money? I was given money, the Day's Star witness says. You wrote a book about your relationship with R. Kelly, he counters. I wrote a book about my life, she says, the gloves coming off in bruising cross-examination at R. Kelly's Chicago trial. Defense attorneys focusing on what they contend are glaring contradictions. There have been multiple occasions where your story keeps changing. No, that's not true, she says, the 42-year-old star witness of the day pushing back. Former Robert Kelly girlfriend Lisa Van Allen says it was a frightening encounter with a menacing Daryl McDavid, the famous singer's business manager. He said they should have murked me from the beginning, Van Allen testifies as she breaks down in tears. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jason Julian following up. What did you interpret the word murk to mean, he asks. Kill me, Van Allen testifies. The former girlfriend taking the stand on the 9th day of Kelly's trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. On the stand, Van Allen talks about her motive for stealing one of Kelly's sex tapes, the one with a threesome, disturbed by the participation, she says, of a 14-year-old girl by the name of Jane, a pseudonym to protect her identity. The subsequent hunt for the stolen tape and copies circulating on the streets, spearheaded by McDavid, one of Kelly's co-defendants. You say you were afraid. Why were you afraid? He asked Van Allen. I never knew that they were thinking about killing me, she responds, bursting into tears. Prosecutors alleging McDavid and R. Kelly himself offered hundreds of thousands of dollars to Van Allen and others in a frantic effort to recover the missing underage sex tape and suspected copies. Van Allen testifying she actually received tens of thousands of dollars in payments from McDavid, agreeing to undergo several polygraph tests at McDavid's behest. Van Allen later turning state's witness, contacting prosecutors in the lead up to Kelly's 2008 child pornography trial in Cook County. You may remember Van Allen testifying during that 2008 trial in Cook County where R. Kelly was acquitted. Federal prosecutors are now accusing Kelly and two co-defendants of rigging that trial. At the Dirksen Federal Building, Julian Cruz, WGN News.
Joining us now is WGN investigative producer Sam Charles. Sam, good to see you. Good morning. Thank you for working with us. So talk to us about Lisa Van Allen and her testimony yesterday. So Lisa Van Allen, one of R. Kelly's former girlfriends, they dated for about 9 years. She said she took the stand yesterday morning and really went over how the relationship sort of developed and eventually how she was involved in, she says, threesomes with R. Kelly and his then 14-year-old goddaughter. Van Allen testified she did not realize at the time that the girl was that young. However, upon learning her actual age, she said about 16, Van Allen then took one of the tapes that contained footage of her, Kelly, and the 14-year-old girl engaging in various sex acts.
So you've been in the trial every day. To cross-examination of Lisa Van Allen should start today. Is that correct, or is it?
Cross-examination began yesterday with Bo Brindley questioning her. Brindley is representing Daryl McDavid, who is one of Kelly's co-defendants. He's his former business manager. Brindley's cross-examination has been quite fiery, as it was when he questioned another witness, Charles Freeman. Charles Freeman was one of the men who claims that he went driving around the country to find and recover these alleged tapes that showed Kelly engaging in sex acts.
Was there a lot of the witnesses never testified in that 2008 trial, or Lisa Van Allen testified differently than she has now? Is that the crux of the cross-examination?
Correct. Brindley has really focused in on alleged inconsistencies between Van Allen's previous sworn statements that she gave in the 08 trial versus what she said to investigators prior to this trial. The government's star witness in the current case, a woman who's only identified in court as Jane, she is alleged to be the teen girl who was seen in the video at the center of Kelly's 2008 trial. She testified at length just last week, and also prosecutors in this case have played for the jurors 17 separate video clips that they say show Kelly engaging in sex acts.
Describe what that was like. I know that they put up a partition so you couldn't see those tapes themselves, but you were in the court when they were played. Can you describe what that was like and how disturbing that was?
Sure. I mean, it was a heavy moment, to be sure. Court personnel and Judge Harry Leinenweber put in various measures to ensure that only the jurors, the attorneys, and the judge were able to see the footage. Prosecutors wanted the court to be cleared. There were about 30 spectators viewing court proceedings every single day, and prosecutors wanted everybody out. However, Judge Leinenweber said that everyone could stay in the courtroom. However, like you said, partitions were put up so that no one other than jurors, the judge, and the attorneys could see the footage. However, audio was being piped in throughout the courtroom that everyone could hear. And it was very explicit, very graphic, and quite shocking.
Yeah. Now, in 2008, we remember seeing just huge crowds of supporters of R. Kelly outside the courtroom. Are there still lines of people, you said, supporters of his, waiting to get in every day to these proceedings?
Yeah, so far, yes. The courthouse opens at 7 every day, and usually there are people lining up to get into the courtroom shortly after the courthouse opens. There are only about 30 or so seats for the public, but the judge has allowed people to come in and take those seats during the trial. So there is a line forming. There There's also an overflow room in the courtroom for people to come and watch. However, you won't be inside, obviously. Phones are not allowed in the courtroom, so no broadcasting, no live tweeting, nothing like that. So, for the reporters covering it, it's a pen and paper, and that's it.
What was R. Kelly like during the testimony? Does he show any emotion? Does he just kind of sit there?
He's had a few moments where, he'll shrug or maybe a light chuckle or so. The reporters in the room are actually sitting behind him, so it's tough to kind of see his face. However, he and his attorney, Jennifer Bonji, are clearly in communication quite often, and leaning over and talking to each other at fairly regular points.
Well, Sam, we appreciate you joining us. You'll be at the proceedings again today.
And you're doing daily updates, right? How do people see that?
Yeah, writing daily updates on the case, WGNTV.com, search for R. Kelly trial.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Checking the weather, Paul?
What do you want to say to R. Kelly if he's watching? R. Kelly, you have 3 children, 2 of them being girls. Do you even love your children enough to think that it's okay to treat me and all the other victims that you've treated? How would you feel if someone would have treated any one of your 3 kids, even all 3? You would be upset. I'm sure you would probably want justice served. So why don't you just look at, if these are your kids, let them go. Let everybody live normal lives.
I don't have anything to say to him. I don't even know if I want an apology. I wouldn't even feel it was real. I just think he's numb to people's feelings, and he knows about my story. He's been dismissive about it. He still didn't address what he did to me. So I just hope he gets help. He admits to his wrongdoings, and he's held accountable. I pray that you see this, you feel this, and you get the help needed, because this can't keep going on. You can't keep doing this, dude.
What would you say to him?
I would just like you to know that you really hurt me. I was a little girl in a bad man's world. I never really recovered from it. I'm really angry with you for what you're doing. I don't understand it. Why you would want to hurt so many women. I just really hope that you let the women go home and get the support and help that they need. And you take some responsibility for what you've been doing for over 25 years. I mean, enough is enough.
What would you tell Robert if he's watching this?
Why? 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 It's like watching a family member damage themselves and you can't help them, because in hindsight, we all were a family. And my question would be why? And I think in hindsight, if he had told somebody early on what had happened to him, just maybe he wouldn't have turned into the person that he is. I would tell him to get some help. I would tell him that this was not done to hurt you. This was not done to slander you. This was done to help you. You need to see the effects of your behavior. You need to see how you have ruined lives, how you have damaged relationships, how you have torn up other people's families. He needs to know that.
I want him to be held accountable. The bottom line. I feel like he needs to be held accountable for his actions. The more times he gets away with it, the worse it's getting. I feel like he's getting worse. It's evolving into something even worse and bigger, and I just don't know where else this could go. He started out bad, and it's just going up from what these girls are saying. I just don't want it to get any worse. I would hope that he would want to be a better person and quit hurting. Quit hurting people. Quit hurting these girls. It's only these girls who trust him. And I'm sure some of them love him like I did. And you get over a lot of the stuff. You carry it with you. What I would like to say to Robert is, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not afraid of your lawyers. I'm not afraid of your goons. I'm afraid of your team that you have helped you. I would give my life for my justice and any other woman you validated. I will not go away. I will not be quiet. I will not hide. You know what you did. You know the turmoil you brought into my kid's life. And not just my kids, my family. Because what affected me affected my children. What affected my children affected their grandparents and their aunts and their uncles and their cousins. You destroyed Christmases, birthdays, graduations, and my kids' ability to just go to lunch and sit with their friends and laugh and play. And for that, I will never forgive you. For that, you can deny all you want to. For that, you can deflect all you want to. And for that, you can go to hell.
So then this tape comes out, and you recognize the girl as the girl that you had the threesome with, who was, Sparkle says that's her niece. A bunch of her schoolmates are saying, yes, that's who we say it is. We played basketball with her, everything else like that. And R. Kelly gets arrested for, I guess, child pornography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And well, the trial doesn't start for 7 years or something, some huge amount of time.
Yeah, I think it was 6. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he pushed that trial back
he did.
No one I've ever seen.
Right.
And during the time, he became bigger and bigger. I feel like his biggest songs were dropped during that 6-year era. The Chocolate Factory and, I Believe I Could Fly came out during the time. And
I think that was in the 90s, the late 90s, but yeah, still.
But anyways, Step in the Name of Love, right. and all that was coming out during that era.
Yes.
Now the trial begins and you actually are involved in the trial.
Right.
Okay, so what did they, what is your involvement in that trial?
Pretty much I just had to identify the people on the tape. I was able to identify them because I've had a threesome with the both of them. So that was pretty much my role.
When you say the both of them, there were 2 girls in the tape?
No, Rob and Rashona.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, because I had heard that when the Chicago newspaper got the tape, there were multiple tapes, multiple girls and so forth. There was a series, there was more than one tape.
Well,
and
are we talking about the trial from 2008?
Yeah, see, that's the part I'm not sure, because they almost made it describe there were multiple tapes, but I guess only one particular scene made it to trial.
I know the other tapes were in Florida. Remember, they ended up throwing it out because I guess the way they got the tapes.
Okay.
So yeah.
Got it. Right. Okay. Got it. Okay. That's what I'm confusing it with. Yeah, because there were other tapes. So this whole trial happens, and you took the stand and everything?
Yes. I testified for 3 hours.
Okay. At some point, did you say, okay, yes, I don't agree with the things that R. Kelly has done, but he's also done a lot of good things for me along the way, and I'm not going to participate in this trial. Was that ever a thought?
No, because they threatened my life. So that is what I was thinking about at that point. If you're talking about killing me, everything else is off the table. I mean, I was concerned with him getting better. I was concerned with him getting help. I was a great friend to him and lover at the time when we were in a sexual relationship. But at the time, once you come to a point where your team is talking about killing me, I think it's safe to say I shouldn't be trying to help you change and get better. I think at that point, I should be more concerned with my well-being and the other young ladies that you've been dealing with.
Okay. Well, you took the stand, and a lot of people took the stand in the process. Did the girls, the girl on the tape, did she or her family take the stand at all?
They didn't during trial. Beforehand, they had like that hearing beforehand where that's when I said, the father said it wasn't her. She said it wasn't her. They did that, but no, not during trial.
Okay. So her whole family denied it?
Just the immediate, because Sparkle said it was her. So
right. So the actual girl denied it was her. Right. Her mother and her father both denied it.
Yes. And let me put out there that her mother and father were actually on a vacation while trial was going on.
Oh, to avoid them taking a stand.
Right.
And getting subpoenaed.
Yes. In a whole other country. Right.
I mean, did you hear of any payouts or anything else like that going to the family?
I've heard. Mm-hmm. Pretty much the typical payout that he does. Mm-hmm.
Which is what? $250,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they go through this whole trial and he's found not guilty.
Yes.
Which everyone was completely shocked.
Actually, I wasn't.
Really?
I wasn't.
Why is that?
Because if you don't have a victim, how can you have a crime?
Okay.
Oh my God.
So when he got off, you were like, that's what I thought. I mean, I just was like, hey, I tried to help. I did my part. I'm trying. I've always been out trying to raise awareness. That's what it's about for me. Like I said, when she said it wasn't her, when I knew her family went out of town, I pretty much knew what it was going to be at that point.
Okay. And then R. Kelly goes on with his life and goes on with his career. And, he's not at that same level anymore,
right.
But he still has a catalog of hits and still touring and everything else like that. Did you maintain any sort of contact with him after the trial?
No, none at all.
So that was it, and during this time, based on what we saw in the documentary, he's now bringing in other girls and kind of repeating the cycle all over again. And what I find kind of interesting, because I was talking to someone about this, is that you yourself, were you ever an aspiring singer?
No.
No. But a lot of the girls that ended up being around him were.
Yes.
And the only singer that I've ever heard R. Kelly put out was Sparkle.
Mm-hmm. And Aaliyah, I guess, right?
And Aaliyah, right.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the 90s,
right.
So you're talking about, you have these promises of making you a superstar, but this hasn't happened in 20 years.
Yeah, and I mean, the group talent he had, they were really good. I just hate that he really didn't do anything with them because they were awesome. Yeah, so he doesn't really, I guess he kind of feeds people dreams, which is sad.
A big day in court on day 8 of the R. Kelly trial. The defense grilled the man who says Kelly and his team paid him to recover sex tapes showing the singer and an underage girl, Jane, now the woman at the center of the child porn and obstruction justice charges against Kelly.
Our Tara Molina has been in the courtroom following it all. Tara, the defense team spent the entire day questioning that man. Erica and Jim, the entire day picking apart his testimony from this week and comparing it to testimony he gave to a grand jury in the past couple of years. And it was heated for hours. At one point, defense attorneys calling him a thief, a liar, and an extortionist. Charles Freeman back on the stand and facing defense attorneys. Having already testified, he started working with R. Kelly in the 90s, doing merchandising for Kelly's concert tours. He said the two became friends. The attorney for R. Kelly's former business manager, Daryl McDavid, asked why Freeman, a t-shirt salesman, would be trusted by Kelly and his team to recover sex tapes, asking if he was the one who first reached out about the sex tapes, child pornography, in an effort to extort Kelly, something Freeman denied. At one point, when Freeman appeared to laugh during a back and forth, asking, "Is this funny? Are you having a good time?" When Freeman said yes, he replied by asking if he was bothered at all that he held onto child porn in reference to the copies he made for 20 years. Freeman said no. Kelly's lead defense attorney referring to Freeman's testimony as an ever-changing story, also pointing out discrepancies in what he said on the record, pressing him on the immunity deals he's been granted to testify in this case, asking, why would anyone need as many immunity deals as you have if you've been such a law-abiding citizen? Freeman was given immunity deals to testify, protecting him from being charged with any crimes in this case. Remember, he not only knew about the nature of the sex tapes, but made copies of them himself to make sure he'd be paid, holding them for years. In Kelly's defense attorney's line of questioning, we also learned that Freeman bought at least one sex tape involving Kelly while in California. That tape, the tape at the center of the 2008 trial where Kelly was acquitted. When asked why he didn't report any of this over any of this time to police, Freeman said because police weren't going to pay him the $1 million that Kelly's team promised him. Reporting live outside the federal courthouse, I'm Tara Molina, CBS 2 News.
Tara, thank you.
Oh, boy. Okay, ladies. Hello, ladies. Sorry for holding you guys there. What's up, Lesme? What's up, Nuni?
Hey.
Let me unmute. Go ahead, Lesme. What's up, baby?
Hello.
Hi, Mama. You guys are up here to help me out? What's good?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So, well, I guess Dad's in the kitchen now. I don't have to watch the dumplings anymore. Sorry, but that's why I decided to do the videos, because I'm helping my husband in the background as well do his famous little dumplings. So, so that's why I figured I'd kind of, rewind, refresh everybody's memory as to what was said out there. All right. All right, let's see. Okay. Now, can you guys see the screen good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So we got Mr. Julian. So he's going to be the first one. So that'll be the government. So I guess who would like to be Lisa?
It's up to Lesme.
All right. So you guys could take turns. So you want to go up first, Lesme?
Oh, sure. I'll be Lisa first.
Okay, cool. Let me get to my screen so I can roll along with you guys. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on big screen. Hold on. Solo screen, shall I say? Okay, so you guys can see it good.
Oh, yeah, that's way better.
Right? Okay, I kind of figured that. All right. So I am Mr. Julian, who is the United States Attorney, and Les Smith is going to play the role of Lisa. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you please state and spell your name?
Lisa Van Allen, Lisa Van Allen.
How old are you?
42.
What month and year were you born in?
June 11th, 1980.
And Miss Van Allen, do you know a man named Robert Kelly?
Yes, I do.
Generally speaking, how do you know him?
We dated a while ago.
You said you dated a while ago?
Yes.
Is the man you know as Robert Kelly sitting in the courtroom today?
Yes.
If you could you please, Your Honor, I would ask if you would have everybody drop their mask.
We would stipulate that she can identify him.
Wait. Nooney, you want to be the court and Miss Bonjean?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Miss Bonjean.
We would stipulate that she can identify him. The court. Stipulate she can identify Mr. Kelly. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Oh, that's your turn, Miss Estimate.
Yes. He is N.
We stipulate.
Thank you, Miss Van Allen.
Sorry.
No worries. Did you previously testify in a 2008 criminal trial involving Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Did you testify against Kelly?
Yes, I did.
I will ask you some more questions about that later. But here is what I want to ask you about right now. Did you receive immunity prior to testifying in the 2008 trial?
Yes.
Miss Van Allen, if you could, would you please move closer to the microphone? Your last answer was yes?
Yes.
In your own words, would you tell the jury what you having immunity means to you?
That I...
Can I get some more foundation? Are you talking about 2008 immunity?
Yes.
That was a question, I think, wasn't it?
It was. You can answer the question.
I was to testify about my experiences with Mr. Kelly and be truthful about that, and I wouldn't have been charged for my participation.
Okay, you said you had to be truthful. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that what you are here to do today? Be truthful?
Definitely, yes.
Who's your understanding as to who you had immunity from back in 2008?
From? What do you mean?
Any sort of entity, any sort of governmental entity?
From being charged by state or federal?
The state of Illinois and the United States.
Yes.
So now I want to ask you some questions about how you first met Mr. Kelly. So I'm going to go back in time. In what year did you first meet him?
1998.
How did you come to meet him in 1998?
I attended his video shoot Home Alone in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Did you go to that video shoot with anyone?
Yes.
Who did you go with, generally speaking?
A friend of mine's girlfriend. She was an aspiring singer.
Do you remember approximately what month in 1998 that video shoot was in?
That was a little blurry for me. I thought that it was in the colder months because I, was cold. But I believe it was later in August or something like that.
August of 98?
Right. Uh-huh.
What, if anything, happened? Could you just tell us how you met Mr. Kelly at that video shoot, Home Alone?
His cousin Blackie came up to me and told me that his cousin wanted to meet me. And I asked him, who was his cousin? And he said, R. Kelly.
What happened next?
He took me in the little golf cart to meet Rob, R. Kelly.
Did you meet him?
Yes.
Did the two of you and Mr. Kelly, have a discussion at that time?
Yes. He asked me questions, if I had a boyfriend. He asked me how old I was, and would my mother let me come to Chicago.
You said he asked you how old you were at the time, right?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
I said 17.
Was that a mistake? Were you being untruthful on purpose? Could you just tell the jury why you told him you were 17?
At the time, that's what I thought was truthful.
You just told us your birthday is in June of 1980. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you, in fact, 18 on that day?
I was.
So, what, if anything, happened after you had this conversation and you said you're 17?
He asked me, would my mother let me come to Chicago? And I told him yes. We talked a little more, and then when they had a break, we went to his trailer.
Did anything happen in the trailer?
Yes. We had sex.
After that, after the two of you had sex in the trailer, what, if anything, happened next?
He went back to finish his video shoot. I stayed in the trailer. He came back later, and when the shoot was over, we exchanged phone numbers. I went and caught up with my friend. He asked me to call him later. I called him a month later.
And when you say he asked you to call him later, who are you talking about?
R. Kelly?
You said you called him a month later?
Yes.
So I'll come back to that in a second. But I want to show you something right now. Are we in unpublished mode? I'm showing you what's already been admitted into evidence as government exhibit 104. Do you recognize the person depicted in government exhibit 104?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I ask permission to publish this to the jury. It's in evidence.
You may.
Ms. Van Allen, who's the person depicted in government's exhibit 104?
Robert Kelly?
This depiction of Mr. Kelly that we are looking at in government's exhibit 104, does this look about how he looked in 1998 when you met him?
Yes.
You said you called Mr. Kelly about a month later. Is that right?
Yes.
And generally speaking, what, if anything, did the two of you discuss when you called him a month later?
It wasn't a long conversation. Once he found out who I was, he asked me, when can I come to Chicago?
Did you go and see him in Chicago?
Yes.
Did you make arrangements to go see him in Chicago?
He put me in contact with his assistant, June Brown.
How do you know that you were speaking? Well, let me ask the question a different way. Did you talk to his assistant, who you just said was June Brown?
Yes.
How do you know that you were speaking to someone named or referred to as June Brown?
He said that's what his name was. He called me.
The person, June Brown, called you?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you and Mr. Brown discuss about these arrangements?
That he was to send me money and I was to book my travel arrangements to come to Chicago.
Did you, in fact, receive some money from Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Did you make arrangements to go to Chicago?
Yes.
What happened when you got to Chicago?
When I first got there, a limo picked me up, or a car, and took me to the hotel. Once I got to the hotel, I was in contact with June Brown, and he picked me up to go to the studio to see Rob.
You said Mr. Brown picked you up.
Yes, at the hotel.
Is it fair to say that you met Mr. Brown in person?
Yes.
I will come back to that a bit later. But Mr. Brown picked you up, took you to the hotel.
Took me to the studio.
He took you to a hotel and then you went to the studio. Mr. Pentake says, "Objection, Your Honor. She didn't say he took her to the hotel." Mr. Julian says, "I'm just trying to clarify what you said."
A limo took me from the airport to the hotel, and then he picked me up from the hotel and took me to the studio.
Got it. Got it. What, if anything, just generally speaking, happened when you got to the studio?
I met with Rob, R. Kelly, and different stuff. Listened to him with his music, talked. Eventually, we had sex.
So let me just ask you about that weekend. Generally speaking, or rather, however long you stayed in Chicago. How long did you stay in Chicago on that trip?
It wasn't very long because I worked, so it was less than a week.
And generally speaking, during this trip, can you tell the jury what sorts of things you did on the trip with Mr. Kelly, if anything?
We ate, listened to music, talked, had sex. That's pretty much it on that trip.
Mm. And did you go back to Atlanta after visiting with Kelly on this trip?
Yes.
Did you talk to Mr. Kelly when you got back to Atlanta?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did the two of you discuss when you got back to Atlanta?
Me coming back to Chicago?
Did you visit him in Chicago? Him being Mr. Kelly more than once?
Yes.
So I want to ask you about, let me ask the question a different way. Did you eventually move to Chicago?
Yes.
Approximately, excuse me, approximately how much time passed between that first trip when you came up to Chicago and saw Kelly and you moving to Chicago?
Not long. I think I went back maybe a week or so later, and he kept making me miss my flights. Kept telling me to hold up, wait, you know. And I told him I couldn't keep missing my flights or I would get fired. And he asked me, what did I make? And I told him, and he ended up just giving me the cash. It was really no big discussion. I just stayed.
Pause for a second. That is the same exact thing he did with Kitty Jones. Okay, I just wanted to say that. So, question. When you said he, you're talking about Kelly?
Yes.
I'm going to object. That was non-responsive to the question of how much time elapsed.
I think she answered the question, Your Honor.
It was non-responsive. I would like to know the answer. Ask the question about how much time elapsed.
I think she said about a week or so, Your Honor. I was going, just in the interest of time, I was going to ask why she moved up. And she answered that as well.
Go on.
You mentioned you had this conversation with Mr. Kelly. He didn't want you to go back, and you stayed. Fair?
Yes.
Are we still talking about 1998?
Yes.
Where did you live when you moved to Chicago?
I would always have a hotel room with my things, but for the most part, I was with him in the studio.
It was good. Do you remember what studio it was when you say you were with him?
Chicago Tracks.
How many times would you say that you have been to that studio after you moved to Chicago?
I can't count. Probably hundreds. I don't know.
You said you were with him in the studio. Would you spend the night there? And how much time would you spend in the studio? I'm talking about an individual session now when you are seeing Mr. Kelly in the studio.
The majority of the time we would be in the studio outside of him going to hoops or something like that. We would sleep there.
You said you would sleep there? Are there sleeping accommodations in these studios?
Yes.
The jurors have never been. Can you tell the jury what the studio is like and what these sleeping accommodations are like?
Well, in his rooms, there were sleeping accommodations, beds, like futon beds that would fold up and pull down, or sofas, but they would have, some of them would have bathrooms. His main room, bathroom, TV, refrigerator, microwave, like a studio.
If you were staying at the studio, would you stay there for like a few days at a time? Or would it be staying at the studio and going back to a hotel?
I would go back periodically just because I wanted to go back, maybe to take a bath in the tub or just to hang out, you know, there by myself or something. But most of the time, I was in the studio.
When you say go back there, you're talking about going to the hotel.
Right.
When you were staying in hotels, do you know who was paying for the stays?
R. Kelly was. Yes.
Were you paying for them?
No.
Who was paying for them?
R. Kelly was.
What was the nature of your relationship with Kelly when you moved to Chicago?
Sexual.
And would you say you had a romantic relationship?
Yes.
How often would you say that the two of you saw each other when you moved to Chicago?
Daily.
You said it was a sexual relationship. How often would you say the two of you were intimate when you moved to Chicago?
In the beginning, probably pretty often, maybe a few times a day.
A few times a day?
In the beginning, yes.
What's the beginning?
Maybe the first year.
Then that changed at some point after that?
Yeah, it was still often, but not like a few times a day.
It decreased in frequency?
Yes.
Is there anything as you sit here now that stands out to you about the nature of the sexual relationship you had with Kelly when you were living in Chicago?
I'm going to object to the question.
Can you repeat it again?
It's very vague. Well, let's move along.
I can ask more leading questions, Judge, if that will speed it up.
All right.
Did Kelly say things to you when the two of you were having sex about sex?
Yes.
What sort of things did he say to you?
What noises to make, what positions to do, how to do them.
Those things?
Sexual, yeah.
He was telling you those things.
Yeah, he would tell you what to do.
Did he tell you to call him anything in particular while y'all were having sex?
Judge, I don't.
Daddy?
I'm going to object to the relevance of this. She was, I don't see the relevance. She was an adult woman at the time, at least under the law. So I'm not sure what. Is there an objection? Yes. Okay. Sustained.
Did Kelly videotape the two of you having sex?
Yes. Most of the time it was when we did threesomes.
I'm sorry, what was the answer?
Yes.
You said something else. I didn't hear you.
Most of the time when it was threesomes.
You're saying he videotaped you when you were having threesomes?
Yes.
He didn't videotape you when it was just the two of you most of the time? Is that what you are saying?
Most of the time, yes.
Would you say the two of you were in an exclusive relationship?
On my end, yes.
What do you mean by that?
You're saying exclusive, like only him and I. Yes, because he would, sleep with other people, and I do threesomes with him if he wanted to.
What were your interactions like with other people, particularly other men, when you and Kelly were together?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, on relevance.
It's extremely relevant and it'll become obvious.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. Wait, what? I don't see the relevance either. Sustained.
Okay, I will rephrase the question. Were you allowed to speak to other men in Kelly's presence when you
I'm going to object.
Were with other men?
No.
To see the relevance of the question? I don't see the relevance of that.
Could we have a sidebar, Your Honor?
All right.
And then there was a sidebar, and they got back from the sidebar, and Mr. Julian continues. Let me ask you the question again, Ms. Van Allen. Did Kelly allow you to speak to other men in his presence?
No.
From what you observed, did he allow other men to speak to you in his presence?
No.
Did he allow you to make eye contact with other men in his presence?
No.
Did he ever hit you after you moved to Chicago?
Yes.
If he did, and when he did he tell you why he did it?
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't listen to Daddy when, if I spoke to someone or laughed at a joke they may have had or something like that.
You said that that's why he was doing that, because you didn't listen to him?
To Daddy, yes.
Have you ever visited Kelly at his home?
Yes.
Which ones?
Olympia Fields and the one, what is it? George Street or Washington? What is it? George Street. I think George Street by the Enterprise.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what's marked and what's admitted in evidence as government's exhibit 112A. And I asked to publish this, Your Honor. It's been admitted in evidence.
It's in evidence, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You don't need to ask permission to publish, then go ahead.
Have you ever seen this residence depicted in government 112A?
Yes.
Which residence is this?
George Street by the Enterprise.
Approximately when was the first time that you visited Kelly at this George Street residence?
1998.
How many times would you say that you have been to this George Street residence?
Maybe about 10 times. It wasn't a bunch at this house.
You said you visited him at a residence in Olympia Fields. Is that right?
Yes.
May we unpublish for a moment? When did you visit Kelly at a residence in Olympia Fields?
It was a few years later because it wasn't built yet then. Maybe around like 2000, something like that.
Showing you what's marked as government's exhibit 122. Do you see what's depicted in front of you, government's exhibit 122?
Yes.
What does this appear to be?
The Olympia Fields home.
You said you first visited him at this residence in about 2000?
Yes.
Did you visit Mr. Kelly at this residence in 2007?
Yes.
And based on what you're looking at in government's exhibit 122, does it fairly and accurately depict the Olympia Fields residence as it appeared at about 2000 and as it appeared in 2007?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move for the admission of government's exhibit 122 into evidence.
Any objection? Hearing none, it's admitted. You may publish it.
Okay, Ms. Van Allen, earlier you told the jury that you met June Brown in person when you moved to Chicago. Is that right?
Yes.
How often did you see June Brown after you moved to Chicago?
Fairly often.
What kind of places would you see or interact with would you see June Brown at?
The studio, in the vehicles, basketball at hoops, basketball court, things like that with Rob.
In vehicles?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Sometimes he would pick me up or take me somewhere for Rob or things like that.
Your Honor, I would ask everybody to drop their mask for a moment. You could be Miss Judge. Nooney.
Okay. We will stipulate.
Your Honor, I think the defense is going to stipulate that Ms. Van Allen can identify Mr. Brown.
Yes. The record will show. Show.
Do you know a man named Daryl McDavid?
Yes.
And generally speaking, how do you know Daryl McDavid?
He worked for Rob.
Did you meet Daryl McDavid after moving to Chicago and having this relationship with Kelly?
Yes.
How would you describe the frequency with which you saw McDavid or interacted with McDavid after moving to Chicago?
It wasn't very often, but I met him a few times. Sometimes I would go to his place of business and maybe pick up a check or cash or something like that.
Have you ever had a conversation with McDavid?
Yes.
More than one?
Yes.
Have you ever spoke to McDavid on the telephone?
Yes.
Is the man you know as Daryl McDavid sitting in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Noonie B, Mr. Burnley.
Yes. Your Honor, we will stipulate that she can identify the defendant, McDavid.
Can we publish for a moment? Do you know someone, Miss Van Allen, who we are referring to during this trial as Jane?
Yes.
How do you know Jane?
Through Rob. We had a threesome.
Just one?
3.
In approximately what year did you first meet Jane?
1998.
Can you tell the jury about how it was that you first met Jane?
We went to the home on George Street and we were in the, what do you call it? The log cabin room. Me and Rob went in there and then he went upstairs and got Jane and came back down with her.
Before you met Jane, did Kelly tell you anything about who Jane was?
He said she was his neighbor.
Did he tell you how old she was?
He said 16.
At that time?
Yes.
You said the two of you all met in the log cabin room. Is that right?
Yes.
May we publish? I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence as Government Exhibit 112D. What's Government Exhibit 112D?
That is the room that I call the log cabin room.
How about 112F?
That's the room as well.
And 112G?
That's it as well.
What, if anything, happened after the three of you, Kelly, and Jane, were in the log cabin room?
We had sex. A threesome.
Was there a recording device present while the three of you were having sex?
Yes.
What kind of recording device are we talking about?
A camcorder. It was like a tripod.
How do you know that there was a camcorder and a tripod present?
Because I saw it and Rob put it up. You know, the tripod. He stood it up and put the large camcorder on top.
You saw Kelly doing this?
Yes.
Was this before or like during the sex?
Beforehand.
Did you see while the two of you, or the three of you rather, were having sex, Kelly adjust this camera in any way?
Yes.
What ways did you see him do that?
Just different ways to make sure and different angles to make sure, you know, it was right on all of us, the camera.
And I apologize for having to ask you this, Miss Van Allen, but could you tell the jury, like, what happened? You said the three of you had sex. So what happened during that episode?
We had sex. We had oral sex and intercourse.
Was there anyone telling you what to do during this encounter?
Yes.
Who was that?
Robert.
What sorts of things was he telling you to do?
Moan louder, kiss, you know, move in a certain way.
Did you eventually watch a videotape of this sexual encounter?
Yes.
I will come back to that in a couple of minutes, but you mentioned that there were 3 times that you, Kelly, and Jane had sex. Is that right?
Yes.
I want to ask you about the second time. Approximately how much time passed in between this first time in the log cabin room and the second time that you, Kelly, and Jane had sex?
The second time was probably in 99.
Where were you when it happened?
It was like a basketball court. It had the Space Jam pictures in his home.
Showing you what's admitted in evidence as Exhibit 112J. What's depicted in 112J?
That room I speak of, the basketball room, the court.
And is this at 1010 West George Street?
Yes.
Is this the room you were talking about?
Yes.
So what happened in there between the 3 of you on the basketball court?
He put a futon in there from another room, and we had a threesome, which would include oral sex and intercourse.
Was this interaction videotaped?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because he set up the tripod and the camcorder.
You saw it?
Yes.
What kind of camcorder are we talking about, by the way? Is this something that, from your observations of it, is this something that would take tapes?
Yes. The VHS tapes. They are really big tapes that they have like tape in it, I guess. You pop them in and you push record or play.
Is that as well for the episode you told us about in the log cabin room, the same kind of camcorder?
Yes.
Did anybody tell you what to do during this particular sexual encounter, the one on the basketball court?
Yes, Rob.
What, if anything, did he tell you to do?
Same thing. Moan, kiss, lay this way, that way, do this.
And during this particular encounter, did you express any sort of reservations about doing this?
Yes.
Having sex, what did you express?
I started to cry. I started crying.
Did Kelly say anything to you about you crying?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said what he was going to do with this, with me. He said, what was he going to do with this? with me crying in it.
What do you mean this?
Like, I guess because it wouldn't have been a good footage to watch, if I'm on there crying.
Why were you crying?
Because I didn't want to do it.
Why did you do it?
Because he asked me to.
You said there was a third time that you, Kelly, and Jane had sex.
Yes.
So we are in 1999 for the second time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Approximately how much time?
I object to the leading about the dates. That's kind of important here. He just repeated it. Overruled. Go ahead.
Okay. Les Smith, you want to switch? You'll be the
Sure.
judge and everybody else. And Noonie, you could be Lisa.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
All right, cool. All right. I think you testified earlier that the second time was in 1999.
Yes.
Approximately how much time passed in between the second time and this third time that the three of you had sex?
I think it was like 2000 because it was at the video shoot.
What video shoot?
Woman's Threat.
What happened at the video shoot?
When we got back to the trailer, we had another threesome.
Was it videotaped?
Yes.
Whose idea was this threesome?
Rob's.
You said it was videotaped. How do you know that it was videotaped?
Because he had the tripod and camcorder.
Did you see him set it up?
Yes.
And was this encounter interrupted in any way?
Yes.
In what way?
His team came in, his publicist, Regina Daniels. Some people from the video shoot, they came in. So he had Jane run into the bedroom naked.
Bathroom naked. Okay, Kelly asked Jane to run into the bathroom?
Yes.
Did he ask you to run into the bathroom?
No.
Okay, I'm going to move forward in time a little bit.
I think we will take a recess for now, 15 minutes. All rise. Mr. Julian, are you going to play the tapes?
Not with this witness. I have very minimal exhibits left, and they'll all be pictures.
All rise. Please be seated. You may continue your exam. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was you. You're right. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Van Allen, before we broke, you told the jury that Mr. Kelly would sometimes videotape either you and him having sex or you and other people having sex. Do you know where Kelly kept the tapes he made of you, him, and others having sex?
In a duffel bag.
How do you know that he kept those tapes in a duffel bag?
You could hear them shuffling around in the bag when he put it down or carry it or walk with it. And then eventually I went in the bag and saw them.
Wow. How often would you see, right? That's crazy. How often would you see Kelly carrying around that duffel bag with tapes? Either making a noise or a bag that you looked in and saw tapes?
Often. He'd have it with him most of the time.
What sorts of places would he go carrying that duffel bag?
on his tour bus to Hoops to play basketball.
Hoops, is that the name of a gym?
Yes.
And he played basketball there?
Yes.
So I want to change gears and kind of come back to Jane and the things you've told the jury about a little bit earlier. After you had sex with Jane, those 3 times you told us about, without getting into the specifics right now, did Jane make a statement to you about an upcoming birthday?
Yes.
Let's make you up.
Objection. Oh, it's just a yes or no.
You're
Miss
Bonjean,
Bojangles.
mama.
Oh, objection. Hearsay. Sorry.
That's okay. It's just a yes or no question at this point, Judge.
Then I'll withdraw. Over. Okay.
Ms. Van Allen, when Jane made that statement to you, did it have an effect on you?
Yes.
Objection. Judge, this is just a backdoor way of getting in hearsay.
The statement, frankly, is...
It's not for the truth, presumably.
It's not, Your Honor.
Go ahead. Overruled.
All right. You mentioned that the statement had an effect on you. Is that right?
Yes.
Would you say that that's a positive effect or a negative effect?
Negative.
Did you do something or decline to do something as a result of having heard that statement?
I didn't want to have any encounters with her, so yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What did Jane say that affected you and made you either do something or not do something?
Okay, I think that is now hearsay or calling for a hearsay response.
It's not being offered for the truth, Judge.
It's not for the truth. So overruled. Effect on her.
That she would get a PT Cruiser on her 16th birthday.
And approximately when was it that Jane made this statement to you? When I say when, I mean about what year was it?
About 2000. About 2 years after their first encounter.
Why did Jane say that she was going to get a PT Cruiser for her 16th birthday have an effect on you?
Because I was told she was 16 prior. 2 years prior to that.
And what, if anything, you said you did something or declined to do something as a result of having heard the statement? What was the thing that you either did or did not do as a result of having heard Jane's statement?
I didn't want to do any more threesomes. I didn't want to do the first ones, but I definitely didn't want any more encounters.
And why is that?
Because she was 14. She had to be 14.
Miss Van Allen, do you know a man named Keith Merrill?
Yes.
How do you know Keith?
He was one of Rob's artists.
When you say artist, what do you mean by that?
He sung in a group called Talent.
And when you say he was one of Rob's artists, did you have some sort of understanding as to how he was one of Rob's artists?
Yes, he was a singer in the group Talent.
Were they assigned this group Talent? Were they assigned to Kelly's record label? Is that what you mean by he was one of his artists?
I believe so, yes.
And when did you first meet Keith?
I met them at the hotel room.
Which hotel room?
Holiday Inn, downtown Chicago.
Do you know about when that was?
Probably about 99, 2000, something like that.
So about 99, 2000 at a Holiday Inn downtown?
Yes.
What's the nature of your relationship with Keith Merle?
He was a good friend.
Are you still in touch with Keith?
Not really. I mean, he's on Facebook, and every now and then he might text me through Messenger on there, but not really.
When was the last time you say you communicated with Keith?
A while ago. The last time when I guess he hit me up about the Chuck stuff, the stuff about he said Chuck wanted to reach me.
And when you say Chuck, who are you talking about?
Freeman, Charles Freeman.
Your Honor, I'd like to get some foundation, and maybe counsel is going to lay it as to when this incident he's talking happened. He says a while ago, but you probably could do better than that.
Miss Van Allen, this incident you're telling the jury about, Keith reaching out to you about Chuck Freeman, when was this?
It was not that about a year ago or something like that. Not too long ago, maybe 2 years.
And what were you talking about? And you're talking about having a contact with Keith about Freeman. Do you know who reached out to who? Like, did Keith reach out to you about Chuck, or did you reach out to Keith about Chuck?
Keith reached out to me. He hit me up on Facebook, and then I went back and told him. Asked him, did he think that it was truthful? You know, what was what Chuck was saying, things like that. So it was kind of like a back and forth thing. But he initiated it, I guess, to let me know that it was Chuck's number calling me because I didn't know who it was.
And this is something a year or two ago, you said?
Right.
So I want to come back to 2000 and 2001, about the time you first met Keith. Or maybe you've known him for a while at this point. How did you said you were good friends. How did you become friends?
They were staying in the same hotel that I had my things at, and periodically I would go back there and eat because I liked the food that the hotel had. It was more, basic stuff like pizza, wings, things like that.
And how did you going back to the hotel to eat lead to you and Keith becoming friends?
What's his name? Ernest saw me, which is another band member in their group, saw me going to my hotel room, and he knew that I was with Rob, and he knew that we couldn't speak to guys and things like that. So he kept trying to talk to me and say, hey, and things like that. And he kind of thought it was a joke because I really wasn't trying to speak to him. And when I got back to my room, I tried to call Rob to tell him that he kept trying to talk to me. And Rob never came to the phone. So after a while, I was just like, what, to the guys. And we became cool. I met the rest of the group and I told them that I was ordering food. And they explained to me how they would only get like $25 a week and they'd be hungry. And I would order them food.
So you all bonded over food?
Right.
I want to change gears and come back to some things that you told us about a little while ago. Was there ever a time when you were left alone in the studio with tapes that belonged to Kelly?
Yes.
Where were you? Like, which studio were you in?
Chicago Tracks.
And where were you when you left alone with these tapes?
In Rob's R. Kelly's main room, which was like it looked like a studio apartment. It had the sofa, the big screen TV, like the floor models, the refrigerator, the microwave, the bathroom with a shower.
Now, this incident, you being left alone with these tapes, do you remember about what year this was in?
2000?
Do you remember about what part of the year? Like, was it early, mid, late?
No.
Okay. Where were these tapes you say you were left alone with?
In the duffel bag.
Were you usually left alone with the tapes?
No.
And what, if anything, happened when you realized you were alone with these tapes?
I went in the bag.
Why?
Just interested in, what all was in there and if the tapes with me on it were in there.
You were looking for the tape of you?
Yes.
So you're looking through a bag of tapes. Was there some other apparatus in the room? Some other thing? Like, did you do something with these tapes you were looking through?
Yes, I went through them and I would pop them in the VCR, which is, like a big box that you put those VHS tapes into to play them on the television. And I would watch a few seconds of them and forward them, to see if I was on them. And, I saw plenty of them with different women, different girls. I don't know how old they were, but different ladies, people, on them. And I kept looking at them until I found one with me on it.
Why were you looking for a tape with you on it?
Because I didn't want him in possession of them, Robert.
Why not?
Because I didn't want to do it. So I didn't want him looking at them or having them in his possession.
And when you say it, what do you mean?
The threesomes.
You were looking for a tape of you having a threesome specifically?
Yes.
Did you find it?
One of them.
I just want to ask you some questions about that tape. What do you remember, if anything, viewing on that videotape that was of interest to you? You could take your time.
In the first part, it was him and Jane having, well, the first scene was him and Jane, and he kept giving her water so she could pee. And then the second scene was Jane again, and it was like a bedroom, and she had on some white lingerie. And then the third scene was me and him and her and Jane.
So I want to ask you about the first scene. You said that it appeared to you that it was Jane. How do you know it was Jane on the video?
Because I know what she looks like. She looked exactly the same as when we had our threesome. The threesome that was on the tape.
Was Jane on that video by herself?
With him.
Who is him?
Rob R. Kelly.
Was it just the two of them?
On the first two scenes. The last one.
I want to ask you.
Was me.
About this first scene. Just talking about the first scene right now. Was it just the two of them?
Yes.
And you said that he was giving her something to drink?
Water.
Do you remember what the setting was, or did you recognize the setting for the first video?
Yeah.
How did you recognize it?
It looked like a living room. It had the checkerboard floor.
What color was the checkered board?
Black and white.
Had you seen that floor in person before?
Yes.
And when you say it looked like his living room, which residence are we talking about? Olympia Fields or the 1010 West George?
1010 West George.
You talked about seeing that she was drinking some things. Do you remember anything that were like, do you remember hearing the two people, Jane and Kelly, talking to each other on that first video?
Yes.
Is there anything that sticks out to you from viewing that first video that you remember? One of them saying, if anything?
I know he would have her drink the water and they would talk about her 14-year-old pussy.
Who would you hear saying that?
Both of them would say it, but at the time, him.
So now I want to ask you about the second video. You said that it was a bedroom and she was in some white lingerie?
Yes.
How did you recognize two people on that tape?
Because it was the same two people I had the threesome with.
Jane and Kelly?
Yes.
You said that you got through those two scenes and then you found the video that you were looking for. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, earlier you talked to us about an interaction. Well, you talked to us about a few interactions. What was depicted in this third video that you found that was of interest to you?
At the end of it, it was us having the threesome in the log cabin room.
And again, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, Ms. Van Allen, but what did you remember viewing when you viewed that video of the three of you in the log cabin room?
Rob, I, and Jane having sex and oral in the log cabin room.
Who was doing what to whom in that video that you watched?
It was all of us having sex and oral and things like that.
Do you remember as you watched it, as you reviewed it, receiving any sort of direction that was being directed to someone in the room on that third video?
Yeah. Yes.
Who was the person giving out directions?
Rob R. Kelly.
Who were those directions being given to? Earlier, you testified that it was you. Was there another person?
Name redacted. Oh, sorry. Jane and I'm sorry.
Oh, so she messed up and said Shauna's
God.
name. Yeah. Mr. Julian says, Your Honor, could we go to a sidebar briefly?
I'm sorry. Good God.
So I want to set the scene for the jury. You're in a room, you say, at Chicago Tracks, going through a bag of tapes.
Yes.
How did you feel going through those tapes?
Disgusted.
Were you nervous at all?
Yes, very.
Why?
Because, VH tapes are big, loud, noisy, and when I'm popping them in, it takes a while for them to play and rewind them and things like that. And I was afraid that he'd walk in the room before I was finished looking through them to find the one I was looking for.
Who is he?
Rob R. Kelly.
Why were you afraid that he might walk in the room and see you looking at the tapes?
Because I wasn't supposed to be in the bag. I was sneaking.
And what, if anything, did you do after you found this tape that was of interest to you? What did you do?
I took the tape and went back to my hotel room.
Did you keep the tape?
No,
What did you do with it?
I sent it to Keith in Kansas City.
Why did you send it to Keith?
I wanted to get it out of my possession
Why did you want to get it out of your possession?
because I didn't want Rob or Kelly to find it, to know that I had it.
I want to fast forward. Miss Van Allen, did you eventually leave Kelly and move away from Chicago?
Yes,
Approximately what year was that in?
2001.
Why did you leave?
I was just tired of doing nothing, really. My life was just frozen. I was doing the same things every day, going to the studio, staying at the vacation home at the time, shopping, having sex with him, or threesomes, But my life was pretty much on pause. I wasn't succeeding in any way myself.
And where did you go when you left Chicago?
Back to Atlanta.
So now you're back in Atlanta. You left Mr. Kelly. Did the two of you keep in touch after you left?
Yes.
About how frequently?
At first, regularly. I saw him in July 4th that year.
Did Kelly ever leave any of his jewelry around you after seeing him? Or did you keep any of his jewelry after you saw him?
He left it, yes.
And what items of jewelry are we talking about?
It was a watch.
Was it a Rolex?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
He had left it in the hotel room and he was supposed to come back because we were supposed to go out that night, and he never came back. And the watch was there. I didn't tell him it was there. I assumed he would know it was there. So I never said anything and he never asked for it. And it kind of had me kind of baffled because I was like, how many people are he visiting that he doesn't know where he left it?
Where were you when this happened? City and state.
Atlanta, Georgia.
And do you remember about when that was?
2001.
Do you remember being around a cross necklace or Kelly leaving a cross necklace around you?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I don't remember all the details, but it was pretty much kind of the same situation. Left it around me, didn't bring it up, and I didn't bring it up either.
What happened with that cross necklace?
I sent it to Keith.
And why did you send that to Keith?
The same situation. I didn't want it in my possession.
So, in summary, during this period of time, when you moved back to Atlanta, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, did Kelly ever ask you about that tape that you took from the studio?
Not at that point, not up to 2006.
So the same period of time, 2001 through 2006, did Daryl McDavid ever call you and ask you about that videotape you took from the studio?
Not at the time.
How about June Brown? The same question. The same period of time. Did June Brown ever call you from '01 to 2006 and ask you about the videotape?
No.
Did you ever keep a copy of that videotape?
I did not have it in my possession.
You sent it to Keith?
Yes.
Did you ever send a copy of that videotape to someone in Atlanta?
Only Keith.
In Kansas City?
Yes.
Now, earlier we talked about a guy named Chuck Freeman. I want to ask you about Chuck Freeman briefly. How do you know Chuck Freeman?
Through Keith.
Do you have a relationship with Chuck Freeman independent of Keith?
No.
Are you friends with Chuck Freeman?
I wouldn't call him a friend. Maybe an associate through Keith.
Would you hang out like in person with Chuck Freeman?
No.
Did you ever tell Chuck Freeman that a copy of that videotape we've been talking about was with some people down in Atlanta?
No.
Miss Van Allen, I want to fast forward a few years to 2007 now, and I'm going to ask you about that videotape. In 2007, did you become aware that Keith still had the videotape?
Yes.
Okay, without relating the specifics or the contents of any conversations, did you have a conversation with Keith in 2007 about the videotape?
Yes.
Did you learn that that videotape might have been for sale
Yes.
based on a conversation?
Yes.
And after you heard that the videotape might be for sale, did you say something to Keith during that conversation about where or to whom that videotape should go to?
Yes.
To who?
I wanted it to go back to Rob.
Why did you? Say that?
Kelly.
Why did you say that?
I felt like he had the most to lose, so he would help us get it back.
What do you mean when you say he had the most to lose?
He had an upcoming trial for a similar tape, and on this one, it actually said how old she was.
Did you want that tape out there?
No.
Right now, I'm just talking about this conversation you're having with Keith. When you first learned that it was for sale and you said it should go back to Kelly, as a result of that, just during this conversation, did Keith agree during that conversation to give it back to Kelly?
No.
Did you do anything as a result of hearing that Keith wasn't going to give the tape back to Kelly?
Yes.
All right. Let me pause here and I'll come back to this thread shortly. But give me 1 second. All right. Do you know a man named Yul Brown?
Yes.
And that's Y-U-L, first name, last name, B-R-O-W-N?
Yes.
How do you know Yul Brown?
We dated. That's my son's father.
At the time of this conversation that you and I were just discussing with Keith, what was the nature of your relationship with Yul Brown?
We were dating.
Were you ever engaged?
Yes.
Did you tell Yul Brown about the conversation with Keith?
Yes.
Why?
Because I wanted to get the tape back.
Were you planning to reach out to Kelly about this situation involving the videotape?
Yes.
Did someone beat you to it?
Yes.
Who?
Yul Brown.
How did that happen?
I had given him, he had asked me previously for R. Kelly's number, and I gave it to him. I didn't think he was going to use it. I just gave it to him because I didn't want it to be a problem where he was, wondering why I wouldn't give it to him or anything like that. And he ended up calling on his own. I knew nothing about it at the time.
Without getting into the specifics, generally speaking, how did you find out about that happened?
When I came back over into the house, he told me that he
Yul
reached out. Yes.
Again, very high level, you said you were engaged to be married at one point. Did the two of you ever get married?
No,
Are the two of you still romantically involved?
no.
Did you speak to Kelly about this videotape situation after Yoel Brown reached out to him?
Yes, once I had gotten up to Chicago.
Why did you go to Chicago?
He wanted to talk about it, talk in person about it.
And that's what, let's just back up a step. Did you have a conversation with Kelly in Atlanta or wherever you were before coming to Chicago?
Yes, but it was really short.
Generally speaking, what was the nature of the conversation?
We talked and he just said, "Can you get to Chicago?"
To discuss the videotape situation?
Right, but he didn't want to talk about it over the phone.
And just to orient us all, are we still talking about early 2007?
Yes.
So now I want to ask you about coming to Chicago. You said you came to Chicago.
Yes.
Okay. When you came to Chicago, did you see Kelly?
Yes.
And approximately how much time passed between you speaking to him on the phone and coming to Chicago to see him?
Not long, maybe a couple of days, maybe.
Where did you see him when you came to Chicago? Him being Kelly.
At his home in Olympia Fields.
So I want to ask you about you going to his house in Olympia Fields and talking to him, presumably. What, if anything, did Kelly say to you when you arrived?
He went into I guess it's the pool area, and we talked a little bit. He talked about how, people do things and, people make mistakes and do things. We had one of those kind of conversations. And then he asked me if I thought I could get the tape back. And I told him yes. And he told me he offered, a certain amount of money to get it back from Keith.
Let's back up a bit. You said this conversation happened in the pool room?
Yes.
Were you in the pool?
In the little jacuzzi area, we took off all our clothes.
Did you take off your clothes before having this conversation or after the conversation started?
Before we spoke, he went into the pool room, took off our clothes, got into the jacuzzi.
Whose idea was it to get into the jacuzzi?
Objection to the relevance.
His.
She's answered.
Rob's.
The question?
It's relevant, and I'll tie it together.
This seems a little bit irrelevant, but sustained. Let's move on.
Okay. You had this conversation in the jacuzzi?
Yes.
And you said that he offered up some money. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So I just, did you bring up the subject of money first, or did he bring up the subject of money first?
He brought it up.
And we're talking about Kelly?
Yes.
And what did he say about money?
He said he'd give them $250,000 for the tape.
Who is them?
Keith and whoever, whoever else. He told me I could disburse the money to whoever I wanted to.
So just so we're on the same page, are you saying that Kelly said that he would give $250,000 to whoever had the tape?
Yes.
But he involved you in that plan?
Yes.
I'm going to object to the leading and mischaracterization. Could we just hear from the witness as opposed to the government?
That's what I'm trying to do, is clarify, Your Honor, what the testimony is.
All right, go ahead.
What I'm trying to get at, Miss Van Allen, is can you just tell us in the way that you heard it, what role, if any, Kelly said to you, like you're going to have a role in this or whatever he said? Just tell us what he said.
Yes. He asked me, could I get it? Did I think I could get the tape? And I said yes. And he said he'll give me $250,000 to get the tape back, and I could disburse of it any way that I pleased.
Kelly said he would give you that $250,000
Right.
to disperse.
And yes, and to deal with Daryl McDavid from this point forward.
Kelly told you that?
Yes.
What did he say about McDavid? What do you mean when he say to deal with McDavid?
I guess with the tape, anything pertaining to the tape.
Did you know who McDavid was at the time of this conversation?
Yes.
After this conversation that you told us about in the jacuzzi, did you contact Keith?
Yes.
Did the two of you and Keith, travel to Chicago at some point after your conversation with Keith?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about you first. Did you come back to Chicago at any point after this conversation that you had with Kelly in the jacuzzi?
Yes.
Do you remember about when that was?
I don't remember exactly, but I do know it was in 2007.
Do you think there's something that could jog your memory as to when you might have come back if I were to show you something?
Yes, possibly.
So I'm showing you just for purposes to refresh your recollection what's admitted into evidence as Exhibit 325. And you could just look that over and let me know if when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You're done?
Yes.
Is your recollection refreshed as to when you might have come to Chicago?
Could you give me like 2 seconds?
Yeah, baby, no problem. Go ahead, Lesmit. Take over, mama.
Yes.
About when was it?
In March
of 2000?
Of 2007.
Where did you stay when you came to Chicago in March of 2007?
I stayed at I'm trying to remember which one was it. I don't remember. I know the Omni was one of them, the hotels, but I don't remember if it was that one in March.
It was a hotel.
Yes.
Okay. Did you pay for the hotel?
No.
Did you meet with anyone when you came to Chicago in March of 2007?
Yes.
Who did you meet with?
Daryl McDavid.
Where was this meeting where you met with McDavid?
It was the lawyer's office.
Do you remember, generally speaking, where that lawyer's office was?
It was, I think it was Jackson Street or Jefferson.
Do you know how close it was to this building we're in right now?
I'm not sure. I know it was a Dunkin' Donuts near it.
How did you get to that meeting?
I met up with, I rode with Yule and we met up with June Brown.
How did you meet up with June Brown?
He met us. I think we met at the Rock and Roll McDonald's and we drove there, just June and I.
So you said you met with McDavid. I just want to ask if you could paint a picture for the jury. excuse me, you walked into this lawyer's office who is in the space for the purposes of this meeting?
Daryl McDavid, and they had the other person.
What's the other person?
That was the on this paper, the polygraph person.
Did you take a lie detector test that day?
Yes.
Did you watch a videotape when you arrived at this meeting?
Yes.
What kind of videotape are we talking about?
The tape that I took from Keith, I mean, that I took from Rob and gave to Keith.
That tape was with you at the meeting?
It wasn't with me.
Who was it with?
It was with Keith originally.
So Keith came with you to this meeting?
He didn't come with me. We were separate, because he came from Kansas City.
But you watched the tape?
I watched it with Daryl McDavid, yes.
I want to ask you about that. Who had the tape when you were in this meeting? Did you have it or did someone else have it?
No.
Who had it?
When I watched the tape, Daryl had it. McDavid.
Where were you when you watched this tape?
It was like a room in a hotel.
So we're not in the polygrapher's office? You're somewhere else?
In the room, yes.
Was that at the hotel or was it at the lawyer's office?
When we first watched it, it was in the hotel, yes.
Okay, so let me, just to make sure I understand. On March 27th of 2007, did you watch a tape and take a polygraph test in separate locations?
Yes, I took my test there. What was it? Jackson Street or Jefferson Street? Yes.
In terms of the sequence, what happened first? You watched the tape or you took the lie detector test?
I took the test because they wanted to prove that the tape existed.
All right. So you took the test first?
Yes.
All right. So let's come back to the lawyer's office. There you say that there's a person who's going to administer a lie detector test to you.
Yes.
I want to show you what's up on the screen and what's admitted into evidence as Exhibit 327. Can we publish? So before I showed you this to refresh your recollection, had you seen Exhibit 325 before?
Yes.
I'm going to show you the 5th page of Exhibit 325.
Is this the correct date?
Yes. Do you see a name at the top of this 5th page of Exhibit 325?
Yes.
Whose name is that?
Mine.
Do you see a date and the signature at the bottom of 325, page 5?
Yes.
Whose signature is that on the right-hand side of Government Exhibit 325?
Mine.
And did you sign this form on or about March 27, 2007?
Yes.
Was this the form you signed before taking this polygraph test?
I believe so, yes.
Now, earlier you testified that Kelly said something to you about $250,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you think you were going to get some money at this meeting?
I didn't go there with the intention of receiving anything.
I'm sorry. Not the meeting at Kelly's house. Now, I'm back at the polygrapher's office.
Oh, okay.
I just want to make sure. We're talking about March 27, 2007, right? That's what's up on 325.
It's March 23rd.
Oh, yeah, March 23rd. I'm sorry, I said 27th. March 23rd, 2007.
Yes.
Okay, back at the polygrapher's office. Did you expect to receive some sort of money from someone?
Not really at that point, no, because they hadn't received the tape yet.
So to be clear, all right, let's fast forward. You said you watched the tape with someone the same day.
Yes.
Where did that happen?
At the hotel room because, they had to give Keith the lie detector test.
Who was present there?
Keith was in the living room area, but in the bedroom, that's where me and Daryl went to actually watch the tape separate.
Was anybody else present in the room when you watched this tape?
Not in the room other than Daryl.
All right, pause for a second, guys. I got to use the restroom.
You want to continue, Noonie?
Yeah, we could finish the page, but then we can't scroll. Do you have the stuff?
No, I don't. Let's just finish the page.
Okay.
You take over for Diva.
Okay. Start at 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know, how this tape got queued up? Did someone put it into a VCR, a TV? What happened?
Yes, Daryl put it in.
You saw that happen?
Yes.
What happened after you saw Daryl pop the tape in?
He was forwarding it, going through the scenes, and he asked me, was that all of it? Was that everything?
Okay.
I'm here, guys. I'm here. I'm just waiting for my daughter to get out the bathroom.
Okay. Do you remember what you saw on the videotape as McDavid was going through this tape?
Yes.
What did you see?
The same scenes, the Jane and Rob and the house on George Street, on the checkered floor, the black and white floor, and her drinking water so she could pee, and the other scene with her with the white lingerie with Rob and her, and the third scene with all of us, the same tape.
Did you watch, or rather did all of those scenes play as you were watching this tape with McDavid?
Yes.
Was the sound on?
I'm really not sure. I don't remember.
Do you remember having any discussions with McDavid as you were watching this tape?
Yes.
What did you talk about?
He asked, was this everything? Was that all of it? And he was skimming through it, going through the scenes.
So now we're at the hotel and you've watched this tape. Were you expecting to receive some money at this point?
Yes.
How much?
I'm really not sure. Probably the full amount at that point. Gotta wait for Diva.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the first tape
Mm-hmm.
was not the only tape.
And isn't it crazy that the tape that we're in right now, that it's worse? It's that she's actually saying how old she was.
She's saying how old she was.
So I bet you he was Even though it was a bad tape, I bet you he was like, well, maybe I could weasel my way out because the other tape is worse. Thank God they didn't get the other one.
I know. And I really do think that she was trying to get the tape back because she was scared that if that tape really did come out, that he would be in a lot of trouble. I really do think that she had this kind of mama bear relationship with him at this point. You know how you kind of shield somebody? Now, not to mention if somebody offers you money and you don't take the money, of course, for somebody doing something this sick, you'd have to pay me money too.
Well,
But
yeah. With some of the things that we've heard, like especially right now, I could be totally wrong because I'm reading it, so I can't really think about what it's being said. But when we read in the beginning, when she was actually 18, I'm thinking, what if she was scared because, 16, her dealing with the little girl, well, they said she was 16. Now that when she found out she was much younger, I bet you she was even more scared. Like, oh my God, like, she probably didn't want to get
absolutely,
in
I bet you
trouble.
I bet you she absolutely did that. Now, I'm not saying that she maybe she did think that the video was in 97 or 98, because to go back, so many years
Mm-hmm.
when she initially said it, to go back 10 years and to say, okay, this is the year that I met him, but you find out that it's another year, that it's the next year. You don't go back and check to see, oh, let me see if I got the dates right. You just go,
Yeah.
basically on memory, like this happened this year, this happened this year. But by the time you get kind of like in 10, they kind of start running together.
Yeah, Diva, we're at the bottom of 11.
Okay, I'm back. I'm posting the link. So if anybody else wants to come out and help us out here, I'm only going to be on for about another half an hour because I believe the music battle is supposed to start at 7 p.m. on Atmos's channel. Am I right, guys?
Oh, great.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he
7
usually does
p.m.
it like at 5. Well, my time.
Right. So it's usually what? 8 o'clock,
At,
¿verdad?
for you, it's 8 o'clock because I think he's 1 hour less than you.
Yeah, but I
No,
believe
I think he's the same time as you. Both of you are Eastern.
yeah, we're Eastern, but
Okay,
I believe
yeah.
he was doing it at 7 today. I'm not even sure.
Okay,
I
Does
think he
yeah.
anybody
did
in the
say it's
chat
7.
know when Atmos is going live so I can know when I could cut it off? Because I believe it was 7 p.m. I'm not even sure. Does anybody know for sure in the chat? Please let me know, guys, before I continue. I want to just know that. Let me
I don't see music battle. I just see him reading the transcript. So he
oh, so
doesn't
he
have a
probably decided
notification
to
on there.
change. Okay, let's see. He probably decided to change his thing. Let me see. Upcoming at 2100 hours. That's at 9 p.m.
Okay.
So let me see.
Oh, 7. Rockin' said 7.
Right, that's what let me. Okay, is it gonna show me here?
Is Rockin' 7 Eastern too?
Yes, she
Eastern?
is. She's
Okay.
Eastern time. Yes.
Okay.
All right, so Rockin', what time are we doing this, Mama?
She said 7, and then Shree said 7.
Okay, it's at 7. All right, so yeah, so like I said, we got a half an hour more, and then we're gonna end it here. We're gonna pause it, and then I'll come back and read it another time. Just like Rashonda's. I want to finish Rashonda's testimony as well. I want to have both
Yeah.
of their full testimonies on my page.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's continue. So you guys said you left it. Where was the
Bottom
line?
of 11.
Okay, we're at 11.
Do you want me to read, or are you gonna step in?
Yeah. If you want to continue the rest, the next couple of minutes, and then I'll switch.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So
that's
go
Give you a
ahead,
fine.
guys.
break.
You could continue, and then I'll be I guess I'll be the court and everybody else in the meantime. You want to do it like that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
guys. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Lesmont.
I'm really not sure, probably the full amount at that point because I didn't know that there was going to be another visit.
How did you, and I'll come back to this, how did you learn that there was going to be another visit?
When Daryl said that Keith failed?
He failed the lie detector?
Yes.
Did you receive the full amount that day?
No.
What, if anything, did you receive?
20 apiece?
20,000?
Yes.
Who gave you the 20,000?
Daryl McDavid?
Did anybody tell you that you were receiving 20,000 as opposed to some other amount?
Yes.
Who?
Daryl McDavid?
And what did he tell you as to why you were receiving only 20,000?
He just said when Keith brings all the tapes back, or the tape, or all the tapes back, then we'll get the rest.
Based on that, did you have some understanding that there were other copies of the tape that had not been returned?
At that point, yes.
What, if anything, did you discuss with anyone on that day in that place about a return visit? You said there was another trip.
Just what I said. I mean, I can't remember anything else. He said once they bring back the other copies, we'd come back and get the rest. I can't recall anything else.
And what was the rest of the money as you understood it at that time?
The 250,000 minus the 40 because it's 20 apiece.
And who said that to you?
Daryl McDavid.
Did you come to Chicago with Keith a second time in 2007?
Yes.
Do you remember about when that was?
I know it was later, so I think it was a couple of months or so. I'm really not exactly sure.
Is there something that I could show you that might refresh your recollection as to when that was?
Yes.
I'm just going to, it's admitted into evidence. I'll show you what's admitted as Exhibit 326. Have you seen what's admitted into evidence as Government's Exhibit 326 before?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you page 5 on this. You see a date written on page 5 at the bottom left of Exhibit 326?
Yes.
What does the date say?
April 20th, I think 2007.
Could that have been when you came up to Chicago the second time?
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
All right. Do you see a signature at the bottom right of Exhibit 326?
Yes.
Whose signature is that?
Mine.
Do you remember taking the second lie detector test in April of 2007?
Yes.
Do you remember signing this form, Exhibit 326, before you took that second lie detector test?
Yes.
Where was this lie detector test administered, if you remember?
In the office.
In the lawyer's office?
Yes.
Do you remember going to a hotel on this trip?
Yes.
Which hotel?
I think it was the Omni.
Is that where you...
I'm really not sure. Yeah, I can't remember what trip was the Omni, but I know the last trip wasn't because I paid for my own.
Okay. All right. Esmit?
Uh-oh. Let's admit we lost you.
Oh.
Line 1, Mama.
It was either this one or the one before.
You remember being at an Omni at some point?
Right.
Do you receive an additional money on this trip?
Yes.
Was that before or after taking this lie detector test?
After.
And how much money did you receive on this second trip?
Just me?
Yes.
$50,000.
You said just you. Did someone receive a different amount?
Yes.
Who received a different amount?
Keith Morrell received 80,000.
Did anybody say to you why Keith was receiving 80,000, but you were only receiving 50,000?
Yes.
Who said that to you?
Daryl McDavid.
And what did he say to you as to why you were only getting 50,000 while Keith was getting 80,000?
That because this was like my fault. It's because of me that he has to pay this out. And he also said that I messed up the polygraph.
Did McDavid say to you what this is? What this is that you say is your fault?
Yes.
What did he say this was that was your fault?
Him having to pay out the money for the tape.
Who gave you that 50,000?
Daryl.
And what, if anything, did you do after you got the 50,000?
I went back to the hotel room and I tried to reach Keith.
You said you went back to the hotel room. How did you get to and from your hotel room to this meeting with McDavid and to take the second lie detector test?
June Brown.
What do you mean when you say June Brown was how you got to and from this meeting?
Yes, he took me.
He drove you?
Yes, he drove me.
Now, I think we've alluded to another meeting. Did you meet with anybody in Chicago for a third time in 2007?
Yes.
Who did you meet with?
Daryl McDavid.
When was it that you met with McDavid for a third time in 2007?
It was a few months. Again, I'm not sure the exact date again.
Is there something that I could show you that could refresh your recollection as to when it might have been?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence as Government's Exhibit 327. Give me 1 second. Could we unpublish for a moment? Okay. Could we republish? Sorry. All right. I'm showing you what's been admitted into evidence as Government's Exhibit 327. Do you see a date on Government's Exhibit 327 on the right?
Yes.
I'm going to skip down to page 5. So I'm showing you page 5 of Government's Exhibit 327. Do you see a date and a signature?
Yes.
What's that date appear to be?
July 26, 2007.
And whose signature is that on the right-hand side?
Mine.
Could this have been when you took this third polygraph test and you came up to Chicago for the third time?
Yes.
Now, I think you started to say earlier that you had to make some arrangements on your own this third time?
Yes.
Who told you to do that?
Daryl McDavid.
Did he tell you why you needed to make your own arrangements for this third trip?
Yes.
Why?
Because it was because of me that they had to pay out all this money.
You say it. Just so we're on the same page, did he say to you what the it was that was your fault?
Yes, the tape.
Did McDavid use the word they when he said that this was your fault?
Yes.
In other words, did he say to you that they would have to pay out some money?
Yes.
This is total prompting and leading. It's pretty leading. Yeah, you can ask what he said.
Well, Your Honor, she said it, and I was just following up on what she said.
No, that's not what happened.
Well, the jury, they heard what they heard. If my memory is different than theirs, it's their memory that counts. Let's just back up so we're all on the same page. What, if anything, did McDavid say to you about why you had to make your own travel arrangements in July?
Because it was because of me that they had to pay out on the tapes. And that was pretty much it.
Did you take another test in July
Yes.
after you signed this form?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with anybody after this third test?
Daryl. Yeah.
What, if anything, did you and Daryl discuss after this third polygraph?
That I would get the remainder after the trial.
The remainder of what?
The money.
Did someone tell you whether you had passed or failed this test?
Yes.
Who?
Daryl.
What, if anything, did he say to you about that?
That I failed it and that they should have murked me from the beginning.
As a participant in this conversation, how did you interpret, or what did you interpret the word murk mean within the context of this conversation?
To kill me.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Did you have some understanding of what murk meant before this conversation?
Yes.
Was anyone else present with Mr. McDavid when Mr. McDavid said they should have murked you from the beginning?
Not in that room, but in the office. Yeah.
Where was it at that McDavid made this statement to you that they should have murked you from the beginning?
At the lawyer's office, it was either Jackson or Jackson Street. Yeah, I think.
And what, if anything, happened next?
He wanted me to make a statement.
What kind of statement?
A statement saying that I never had any type of sexual interaction with Jane.
To who?
To the lawyer. Make a statement.
Was there a lawyer present when he said they should have murked you from the beginning?
Not when he said that. They were in a different room.
Did you in fact go into that other room?
Yes.
Did you make that statement?
Yes.
A statement. Who told you what to say in that statement?
Daryl McDavid.
And what did you say when you got into the room? Just in summary, when you spoke to a lawyer and made statements.
That I never had any type of sexual relationship with Jane.
Is that true?
That's a lie.
Why did you say it?
Because he told me to say it, and I was afraid not to do what he asked.
Who is he?
Daryl McDavid.
When you went in there and you made those statements to the lawyer, was that before or after he said they should have murked you from the beginning?
I made those statements after.
When you said you were afraid, why were you afraid?
Because I never knew that they were thinking about killing me.
Did you have some understanding as to where McDavid was, like his physical location, when you were making statements to this lawyer?
He was outside of the room.
What makes you say that?
Because he escorted me to the room and I could hear him outside talking on the phone, things like that.
How were you feeling during this interview when you were telling lies to this lawyer?
Afraid and nervous.
And you said that you got some money on this trip and that you'd get the remainder after the trial?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes, Miss Van Allen?
Yes, yeah.
Who gave you that additional money on this trip?
Daryl McDavid?
You seem fairly upset about this comment right now.
Objection.
Well, it's...
Just ask the question. Don't.
Were you upset about it at the time?
Very.
Did you express that you were upset about it at the time to someone?
Yes.
To who?
To Daryl McDavid.
What, if anything, did he say in response to you expressing that you were upset about that comment?
I said that I was going to tell Rob. He said Rob knew everything that was going on.
Did you express that you were upset about the comment to anyone else that day?
Yes.
To who?
June Brown.
Did you tell June Brown that what McDavid said to you?
Yes, because he asked me what was wrong when we got in the car, and I was crying.
I want to move forward in time to 2008 now. Did you contact state prosecutors here in Chicago in 2008?
Yes.
About what?
About the tape.
And what tape are we talking about?
The one that I took.
Did you agree to testify against Kelly in his 2008 criminal trial?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was afraid.
Judge, I don't know what's the relevance is about, why she decided to testify, presumably pursuant to a subpoena. I don't know. I think it's irrelevant.
I could explain at sidebar, but there is some relevance and it's about to become apparent.
No, go ahead. Overruled.
Because I was afraid. He said they should have murked me from the beginning. And I had a daughter who was 3.
I'm not connecting the dots of why that made her testify. So.
Because she answered my question.
All right, I'll sustain the objection to that last comment.
Miss Van Allen, did Yul Brown get into some trouble in 2008?
Yes.
What happened?
Our alarm had went off at our house, and the police were in the house, I guess, looking around, and they found some like guns and ammo, and they locked him up for that.
Did it have anything to do with you?
No.
Did that have anything to do with why you decided to testify against Kelly?
No.
And you said you decided to cooperate. Did you tell the state prosecutors when you decided to cooperate about the $250,000?
From Rob?
Yes.
I told them everything, yeah.
Did you tell them about bringing the tape back to McDavid?
Yes.
Did you meet after you decided to cooperate against Kelly in his 2008 case? Did you meet with some private investigators for Kelly?
Yes.
Who did you meet with?
It was a lady at first, and then it was, I think his name is it Jack Palladino, I think?
Miss Van Allen, have you ever been charged with soliciting a bribe?
No.
If someone were to say that, that wouldn't be true?
No.
Did you have a book deal in 2008 leading up to the trial?
No.
If someone were to say that, that wouldn't be true either?
Objection.
It wouldn't be true.
The relevance? It would speculative if someone were to say that. Wait a minute. The objection is sustained.
I want to ask you specifically now about testifying against Kelly in 2008 criminal case. Miss Van Allen, were you in a courthouse at various points during 2008 criminal trial and at points leading up to the trial?
Yeah.
No. 8.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Were you in the courthouse, like physically in the courthouse during the trial in 2008 and at a different points on different days leading up to the trial?
Yes. I was
When you
in the
were
courthouse.
when you were either in the courthouse during the trial or in the courthouse at times leading up to the trial, did you see people who recognized in or around the courthouse?
Yes.
Who did you see that you recognized?
Daryl McDavid in the hallway when I was headed to testify.
Did you see the news coverage of the trial, people depicted on TV walking in and out of the building?
Yes.
I want to show you, can we unpublish for a moment? I want to show you what's been marked as Government's Exhibit 123. Have you seen the peoples depicted in Government's Exhibit 123 before?
Yes.
Who's depicted in 123?
Objection.
Daryl McDavid.
Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. Would you ask the witness not to answer while we're objecting? Your Honor, I object to the relevance of this photograph. And Mr. McDavid has already stipulated to identification. I don't know what they're doing with this, but I object to the relevance of this photograph at this time.
I'll make it clear.
Join. We object as well, Your Honor. What's the relevance?
I was going to ask some more foundational questions, Your Honor, whether this picture and the ones preceding it were in 2008, whether they were in and around the courthouse, which she says that she saw people that she recognized when she was testifying in 2008.
Well, she's identified the defendant is in the courtroom, so I don't think she needs to identify him in a photograph. So I'll sustain the objection.
Let me ask you this question then, Ms. Van Allen. Did you ever see McDavid or Mr. Kelly together in 2008 in the courthouse?
Yes.
Did you see Mr. Kelly and Mr. Brown together in the courthouse?
Yes.
Did you see the three of them together, Kelly, Brown, and McDavid, around the courthouse?
Yes.
In 2008?
Yes.
During and around the trial?
Yes.
Did the state prosecutors, so coming back to 2008, did they show you a video before you testified in Kelly's criminal trial in 2008?
Yes.
And generally speaking, what was on the video?
Rob and Jane having sex.
What was the setting for that video?
They were in the log cabin room.
And how do you know that it was Jane and Kelly having sex in the log cabin room on that video?
Because I know them and because they looked exactly the same way they did on the other tape when we had our threesomes.
So I'm going to refer to that as video one. Now, had you seen video one prior to the state prosecutor showing it to you?
No.
Did you testify in Kelly's criminal trial about video one?
Yes.
Did you identify the people in video one in 2008?
Yes.
Give me one moment, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Who wants to start?
I'll
I'm
be
going to start.
Brandy.
I'm going to
Oh,
start.
okay.
I'm going to start. Judge, but you want to, it's just about time for lunch. It might be easier to start up after lunch. Okay, we'll come back at 10 minutes to 2. And the court security officer tells everybody to all rise. All right. So, guys, that is the end of that. I'm going to leave it there.
That was
All
long.
right. Thank you, ladies. Y'all did a great job. Great job, guys. Great job. Thank you
No
so much.
problem anytime.
Yo, we did a great job, guys.
Yes. Thank you, Leslie, for coming.
Yes, thank you, Les
No
Smith. For
problem.
real.
Thank you.
So the next time, if I get a chance, I'm gonna hit you up, okay? And then you can come and join us if you have the time.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. Yay! Yeah, because I know Mooney is always down to read with me, and so I'm trying to get a couple other people to be down to read with me as well. And you know me, I have all types of crazy hours, so
yeah.
I'm just quarantining. I'm just quarantining this week of the COVID. So.
And how are you feeling with that, mamita?
I've got a fever that's just still sustaining. As a matter of fact, where I got kind of mixed up in the transcript. I was taking my temperature, trying to see if it had gone down. It's kind of holding. My headache is not as bad.
Good. That's good.
Did you
and
take
I
a bath?
tested positive this morning.
That's good.
No, I haven't.
You should do that.
Yeah, I was just about to say you should. And you know what? And rub alcohol on your body.
Oh, really?
You know how it is with the Spanish people. No need. Vicks, alcohol, these things work.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll have to try that.
Well, I got COVID twice since all of this happened. I got it like in 2000 and 2000, I think 2000 this year. So what we did though, I just took a bath. Like I kept taking baths like at least twice a day and just sitting in it, and then like eating, like when you're getting warm again, just start eating like cold stuff like popsicles or ice cream.
Oh,
and drink a lot of orange juice. Drink a lot of orange juice.
I actually have been doing that, but I have just been, I'm a physician's assistant by profession.
Okay.
And so I'm in the medical field, and I just have been alternating taking Tylenol with Advil.
Yes.
And I usually will tell patients if they kind of alternate that drug regimen, that it'll bring the fever down.
Yes.
But it's not working for me.
Ay, Dios mío. So the next mission is to take a nice hot bath, right?
No, not hot.
Yes, take a hot bath, and when you come out, you're gonna put alcohol from your head all the way down to your toes, girl. On your back, have somebody rub it on your back and everything. Listen, tú sabes, yo soy
There's nobody here with me.
I do the Puerto Rican regimens. Okay. That's like if you can't breathe, just take a little Vicks and put the Vicks underneath your nose. Hey, Madam Whip Ass, what's up, mamita?
Hey, Madam, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Diva, how you doing?
How you doing, mommy? Long time no see, baby. What's up?
I know. I just found out about that guy in your sector, the one that threatened to blow up the prosecutor's office.
Oh, the Boski.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wow, what a crazy mother sucker.
Yeah, girl. He's about to get 5 years is what he's looking at.
Man, I had to do a video about that and introduce him to my sectors because it's crazy.
Yeah,
We
that's
have real R. Kelly
ridiculous.
supporters who are willing to be down for whatever.
Do they know R. Kelly? Does he know R. Kelly?
No, but R. Kelly sang to him
No.
one day on the phone.
And he never forgot it.
Right.
Oh, his panties must have
It's
got wet.
it stayed forever in his heart.
Oh, man, oh man. But I've been trying to pay attention to the trial, and man, I just don't know. I vacillate between. You know what the bottom line is? These people were extorting him. They just thought he was a BS Negro, and they wanted to come up and get some money from him. And but at the same time, had he not did what he did, he would not have given them a place to do what they did.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
but I think they all should be. They have immunity, but they all were peddling child porn and all that stuff, and they should be
They were
prosecuted too.
definitely carrying it around just to protect him, as
Yeah,
well as keep it as a piece of collateral for them.
yeah, and that's
So
crazy. They should be going to jail for that too, but they're not. They all have immunity, and only person that's going to go down is R. Kelly. But this is
at the
all
end of
his
the day,
fault.
R. Kelly is the head CEO. R. Kelly is the one that stuck his penis in children.
And peed on them.
Right. And also
Absolutely.
made them defecate in cups. I forgot how you say that. To do doo-doo in a
Defecate.
cup
Defecate.
and then to eat it and play with it, and then he used it as some type of punishment. It wasn't about sex acts and getting off on it. It was punishment. So at the end of
Wow.
the day, R. Kelly is done. He got 30 years. He's gonna get 30 more. And yeah.
And then I think the parents, especially the landfair parents, I know the father's dead, but they
Yeah.
need to be in jail too. They sent their daughter out. This is just a screwed up.
Yeah, I don't agree with those parents either. I don't care.
I vacillate between the two because the parents,
I could understand
when
that they were
all of the
intimidated and shit, but at the end of the day, I mean, come on, man. You there's no way that this guy had that much power. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. Me being a parent myself, if my child was in this situation, I would not have let him go. I would definitely have pressed
absolutely,
charges. I don't give a fuck
me
about his
too.
money, his power, his fame, none of that shit. Send your goons to my crib. See what happens if they come to my crib. If something happens to me or my family members, the police know already where to go look.
I
Okay.
completely agree with you, Diva, but I'm also going to say that R. Kelly was a master manipulator.
That was
And
the
we can
bullshit
all
too.
say, and we can all say, that the parents because the parents should be punished for allowing their child to still be around this man. But at the end of the day, none of the parents, excuse my French, stuck their dick in a kid.
Right.
So,
Right.
No, they didn't.
but
They allowed R. Kelly to stick his dick in their kid.
Right. For all those years, but wait a minute. But in the transcripts, Miss Madam, they did state that they knew that he had the relationship, but they didn't know, supposedly is what they're saying, that they didn't know that the relationship continued.
Listen,
they had to know that. I disagree with that. They had to know that it continued.
Well,
That
if
is
she
like
was being sneaky behind their backs in the first place, she probably wound up being sneaky behind their backs after the fact.
But how is it that she lived with them? You know,
That's the thing. Now, remember at the time when she did go live with him, she was 17. So
Yeah,
in the
she's
state of
legal.
Illinois, that's legal consent, and they legally consider you as an adult.
But then I also fault the parents of that because I think, okay, my daughter's 17, she's of legal, she can consent to have sex with this man, but that
Right.
doesn't mean I'm going to allow her to.
Right.
And
And
you know, it
remember,
just looks like
parents
they
can
kind of just
consent.
gave up.
Parents cannot consent to their children having sex.
Right. And it just looks like they kind of said, well, we can't do anything about this now anymore anyway.
Right.
So we're just going to just let this
Let
go.
it rock.
And,
Right.
and, you know, and in the meantime, R. Kelly, you can continue paying us.
Right. Dominique's mom did the same shit. She was like, you know what? My daughter's 17. She about to be 18 soon. What else could I fucking do? I can't do shit. She's an adult at this point. I could only advise her. I can't drag her by her hair and tell her, no, you can't see that man.
Please don't get me started about Dominique's mother, but that's another day.
That's another beast, right?
no. Get started about Dominique's mother. What?
No. That Dominique's mom, you know, she let her daughter be. At first, she threatened R. Kelly and all this and that.
Right.
And the daughter did come back, but then the daughter went back. And when the daughter went back, the mom was like, there's really nothing I could do. She's 18 at this point. What more can I do and say to her? I can't. But the daughter kept coming back and forth and back and forth. So the mom just made sure that she kept those lines of communications open with her daughter so that her daughter will always know that she has somewhere to come back to.
And she also was complicit in whatever whatever money or
No,
whatever
that was
things
definitely
that she got, whatever things she got, she definitely was willing to take it from her daughter and Geronda.
Okay, but getting back to Roshana, okay, she had sex with R. Kelly when she was 15. When did they find out, the parents? How old was Roshana when they found out about the tape? When they had that meeting in the hotel room?
She was 98, 99. In 98, she was 14.
Wasn't it
2001,
wasn't
right?
it 2001 or 2002? I want to say
it
maybe
was
she was about
2001. It was 2001 when they testified
I
about
want to
it.
say
So
maybe she was 16.
she was 17.
Yeah, she was 17.
Right,
I
because
think
she was 14
16 or
in
17.
98. So 99, she was 15. 2000, she was 16. 2001, she was 17. So she was 17 years old when the parents found out about everything.
Yeah, but I think her birth date is like in September or something like that.
Yes,
So
September
I think it happened
1984.
earlier in the year. So I want to say she was 16, 17, somewhere like that.
She was 17 because she was born in 1984.
Okay, but they still, especially the father, continued to work with him for more than a decade after that. That's just sick and horrible. This man pissed on your daughter and reported it, and it was shocked all around the world.
Right. Now they forgave and forgot about it, and they assumed that their daughter stopped seeing him.
How did they
find out she was still seeing him back and forth? She stopped seeing him in 2010. She was living with him until she was 24. She moved out. And then from that time, she still had communications with R. Kelly. And every so often, they would go have rendezvous and have sex.
With his wife?
That was before, what did she say it was in? Before 2010, that they, from 17 to 24, that she was living with him is when she was having sex with him and the wife, is what she says.
Wow.
Now, remember, the wife left him, divorced him in 2006, and in 2009, the divorce was finalized.
That's just weird, crazy, just sick and sordid.
You know, a lot of people were willing to do a lot of shit for R. Kelly, and he manipulated everyone in his circle to get what he wanted.
Okay. But he has an IQ of 79. He can't read. He can't write. How's he that damn smart to be manipulating so many people?
Man, he's been
He
doing it for
learned
so
it from
many
the
years.
best.
He perfected his craft, bro.
His sister.
He perfected his craft. He grew into a grandiose narcissist.
Just because
The most
someone isn't,
malignant narcissist of them all.
and let me say this, just because someone is not intellectually, has an intellectual ineptness, it doesn't mean that they are not savvy
or
as far
educated,
as,
right?
yeah, as far as common sense is concerned. He is ingenuitive enough to be able to write and perform music without even knowing how to write music. And so that's a tremendous talent that lots of people don't have. And so he found a way to do that and to make that work. And so I think that he may not have the intellectual smarts as far as counting the money or managing the money or the contracts, reading the contracts, but he definitely knows common sense. He knows enough to get some hood from Kansas City to obtain some tapes.
Right,
He knows how to do that.
Yeah, and you got to think, he was around a lot of intellectual people. So he picked up a lot of vocabulary and words and things like this, just being around the influences that he had around him. You know, like Farrakhan and this preacher and that preacher and the sister pastors that came to him and all these people that were doing things in his community. So he learned how to adapt.
Diva.
Yeah.
Atmos is live now.
Okay, guys, I'm going to shut this down. Atmos is live. Go over to the music battle, guys. Please go to Atmos Love Zone and go join in the music battle. It should be a lot of fun. It's always fun. And thank you, everyone who's on the panel. Thank you so much, Miss Whoop-Ass, for coming up here. And Les Smith and Noonie, thank you so much for helping me out with the reading, y'all.
You're very
welcome. Y'all already know, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming by. Guys, please stop by. And Miss Madam Whip-Ass has her own channel. Please go and follow her channel. It is her name, Madam Whoop-Ass.
And please like the video, y'all.
Yes, share the video.
Subscribe.
Yes, yes. And guys, remember, we are collecting for the transcripts. Please don't stop helping us with the funding, okay? We are now down to $4 in the pot, okay? So we got to start collecting over the weekend for Monday, all right? So if you guys can, please help me out. Y'all already know. I love y'all. And I am going to remind you guys, please hit that like button on your way out. Share the video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. For those who are in the replay, please put your comments below. Make sure they're respectful. And Diva Divine Light is out. Peace.